but we want to start off first by thanking those joining in as guests, taking part. A lot of this webinar is going to be dedicated to you having an opportunity to ask your questions and hear some responses from an owner panel. And so we're also here joined by a panel of owners. Jack, go ahead. Did you have something?
I didn't hear the recording start.
It started the moment the meeting was kicked on.
Very good.
Yep. So we're in full record mode. So with that, we want to thank you for joining in today. Again, we are joined by a panel of Signworld owners, all coming from various backgrounds and different number of years of experience within the business. They're here to share their insights with you. So with that, we'll get started as we jump in. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to ask questions, but we do want to kick off with introductions. First and foremost, I am Dan Werner. I'm the VP of Operations here with Signworld. I'll be moderating today's call and helping you through with your questions to present to these owners. And then you'll hear from our panel of owners, as well as Jack Werner, the president of the company and a former Signworld owner. So let's jump into some of our owner introductions and kick off with Margie Haig coming from Columbus, Ohio. Margie, you want to give us a quick introduction to your business?
Yeah, sure. So we're located in Columbus, Ohio. We turned 6 on June 1st. And we're in our original space of a grand 2,000 square feet. And it's terrible because we need to grow and expand and we just can't find anything bigger, and we were trying to buy. We have 8 employees in this 2,000 square feet along with equipment. And our 24 sales projection looks like it's about up 30% from last year. So we should finish around 1.7. We did 1.3 last year. And our biggest customer is probably our landlord, which is commercial real estate. They own 99 properties across the US, and we're in the process of rebranding all of them so they have the same look and feel. But we are really diversified in our offering. So we don't just do commercial real estate. We also have a bank initiative. We have a multifamily housing initiative. And so it's a little bit market segment driven, totally different. And then my background was, I was at L Brands from 94 to 2017 when I got a phone call on vacation that I was being laid off with 70 of my closest friends. So that's kind of the story.
And you froze.
Sorry about that. I think my internet connection just froze. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah. Good.
Perfect. Apologize for that. Margie, thanks for that introduction. That was great. Let's go to Kelly Hanaway coming from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly Hanaway. I am, as Dan said, from Milwaukee Sign. We are the Milwaukee Sign Company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We've been in, we just went over 3.5 years, so we're closing in on our 4th year in business. Our facility is about 3,200 square feet, and we too are kind of busting at the seams. We've got 5 employees right now in our business. Our revenue, we're about 25% is where we're planning to hit, year over year, and we should be at about 1.45 million in sales. Our biggest client is the same, for dollars, it's the same client we've had year over year. Again, another national client that we use, and we just continue to kind of do the same channel letter set and ship them all over the country, which is awesome for us with Linen King and Superior Health. My background, I have spent 25 years in corporate engineering prior to starting my Signworld business.
Very good, Kelly. Thanks for joining in and sharing some insights today. And with that, we'll go to Roger Carroll in Fort Worth, Texas. Roger, give us a little introduction to Cowtown Sign and Graphics.
My name is Roger Carroll, and I own Cowtown Graphics and Signs in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area. Been in business 10 years, and we're in 10,000 square feet. I have 16 employees, and we'll do just under $2 million this coming year. One of the biggest projects that we've done recently, we've got a lot of big customers, but we had a Texas and Pacific Railroad Station, which is a railroad station from the dates to the 30s. And it was a vintage redo where we put a lot of things back into a perspective and turned it into kind of a miniature museum, so I bring it up because it's a very, very interesting project. And that's what you'll find with the sign business. You'll do some crazy stuff. But we did this crazy stuff. It's taken over 10 months. And the job was worth about $138,000. So before this, I was in apparel sales for 25 years. I'm a corporate refugee like all I go.
Very good. Thanks for joining us, Roger. It sounds like a cool project there with the train station.
Yeah.
And last but not least, let's go to Jack Werner, who's our president of the company and a former Signworld owner. Jack, share a little bit about your background.
I joined Signworld back in 1995, 29 years ago. Back then, we were a little different. We were a retail banner shop without a digital printer and relied on the yellow pages. So our business model changed quite a bit. Since then, I started with one employee and 1,100 square feet. 10 years later, had 11 staff, 11 working out of 5,000 square feet, doing about 1.3 million in revenue. I then sold that operation to go into a partnership with our founder and former president, Ken Kint, to learn his end of the business, finished buying him out in 2014, 10 years ago. And since then, I've been the president of Signworld until this March, when I turned it over to Dan and Jean. They are now in charge. I call them boss when I see them. Prior to Signworld, I was ran a wholesale food distribution operation out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. My largest customer when I ran my operation was a regional developer for Subway with 200 locations. You would think once the Subway is open, they're done, but Subway used to be yellow and brown, then yellow and black, then yellow and green. Then they changed the fonts, changed the outline. Every 4 years, Subway changes every single sign inside and out. That one customer was good for about $250,000 annually of revenue. When I answer questions today, if it goes to my experience, I'll answer from that perspective. If it goes to more of the whole organization, I'll answer from that. If it goes to training and policy, I'll answer from that.
Very good. Thanks, Jack. And let's be honest, the transition of ownership was just a paperwork thing. We still know who's in charge. So no, don't make any mistake about that. Well, very good. Well, again, thank you to our panel for joining in and helping these prospective owners through some of their questions. Now we're going to open it up to our guests and give you an opportunity to ask a question to our panelists. You can ask really anything that you'd like, and our panelists are here to share their real life experiences and what they see day in and day out. What I'll do is just work down the list of who we have in attendance today. So have your questions ready. Be ready to bring that one question to the table. We'll start off with one question from everybody. If time permits, we'll come back for a second round and allow you to ask a couple more, but we want to give a shot to everybody to be able to ask a question there. As we work through the hour today, at some point, Sheree will be kicking off a couple slideshows that will start to give you some examples of different types of signs, projects worked on by Signworld owners, as well as some insight into how some of these facilities look as well. So a number of visuals that you will see here throughout the webinar. But with that, let's kick off into our Q&A period. And I'm going to start off with Jonathan. Jonathan, you want to bring yourself off a mute and throw a question at our owners here?
Sure thing. Thanks, Dan. I guess one of my questions with some of those projects that you guys were talking about is, I guess from inception to completion, how long do your typical projects take?
Yeah, very good. Let's start with Margie. Margie, based on the work that you bring in, the types of projects you take on, what's a typical project timeline for you?
Gosh, a big project can take a full year to complete. And if it's a reoccurring something, it can 30 days. So it really just kind of depends on what that customer requires. Different by scenario, I would say. And the thing is, everything we do is custom. So that's the blessing and the curse.
Kelly, any insight on project timelines?
Yeah, I guess kind of the same. I mean, if we're farming out big projects, they're probably 6 weeks to 8 weeks, from inception to install. We try to hit that. But a lot of the stuff we do in-house, you know, we look for things, particularly when we want to close the month, that we can turn it on a dime right in our own shop and get it installed with our own people. And some of those we actually look for and salivate at 5-day jobs, boom, done with our own graphic designer, our own fab, and our own install. So those are nice to go after from time to time. Some of them are very profitable.
Roger, anything to add there on project timelines? Oh, you're on mute, Roger.
Anyway, some things are easy. We do a lot of illuminated commercial signs, channel letters and so forth that are used to identify your business at night. That's an easy one. That's 6 to 8 weeks. Some other ones can take, multifamily housing can take up to a year. And if somebody needs some printed vinyl, we could do that between a Monday and a Friday. So it all depends on what we're talking about.
Thank you. And Jack, anything final to add there?
To expand on that, how much work in progress do you typically have at any given time? Because a lot of that also leads into how long does it take to get a project out. Margie, how much work in progress do you currently have in your queue?
About 400,000.
Kelly?
475.
And Roger?
About 800,000.
That means your staff is busy every hour of every day because you've got the work in the queue. That's important.
In theory, yeah.
Well, and one last thing to add to that as well is generally on this work, you're also receiving a 50% deposit. So while the project timeline may be in upwards of a year, you've got money in the bank covering the costs of production of materials, labor to produce, and it's just waiting on the receivables on the final end of it. So yeah, the project timelines will vary based on the sign type that you're taking care of. Thank you for that. Let's go to Phil Reiser. Phil, throw a question at our panel here.
Absolutely. I would like to get your perspective. I know from hearing all of your stories that each of you have a team of employees that work for you. And as the owner, it seems like in a small team like that, you basically are your human resources department. And so what I'd really like to know about is how are you managing that HR function of the business to attract, retain, and manage a quality team of people?
Yeah, very good. Let's start this one off with Kelly. Kelly, how are you handling the HR side and hiring people, retaining, training, all the good things?
Yeah, that's a great question because it is certainly a hat you wear. Yeah, we do we try to build, a culture within our organization, and then, keep things interesting, keep people motivated and driven to what our end goals are for our business and where we want to go as a team and a culture. So we kind of get people aligned in that way on a retention basis. We do offer, incentives for people, based upon our sales for retention, but we're also, the other things we do for retention, we allow each employee to champion a not-for-profit kind of charity, and we provide the signage for that charity, whatever they want to do, be part of the community, give back. And people really take to that. Of course, we cap it; it's not unlimited. But this will be the quarter for this charity, and then we kind of provide all of that for them. In terms of like trying to manage the employees and go out and attract, and we've actually tried some they'll call it like temp to hire or staff to hire, augment to hire kinds of working. And we had an employee that worked out like that very well for us. So we you're going to pay a little more in the first 3 months to get those people, but it's a no, kind of just, if it doesn't work out, they just kind of refill them, replenish them with someone else. Again, we only have 5 people and we haven't had a lot of turnover. So we haven't had we don't even have the staff like Roger has where there's that deep of a staff. So for us, honestly, it's not been too bad, a little bit of turnover, but most people we get, if you do your homework, and look for good bones people, and you can train them to do the job. So we've had very little turnover. We're just lucky in that regard.
And Kelly, add to that. You mentioned that you do a little bit on cash bonuses and things that are tied to company performance. But do you offer any benefit packages, medical plans, things like that?
We do not, but we're investigating something. We are going to pay for half of the employees' insurance through a program. It's actually on my ICHRA, I believe it is something new that we can pay through the government. You know, the government will understand how that all works from a taxation perspective, but we can pay that. And we are going to start simple IRAs in January for our employees, and we'll contribute we're probably going on, there's a plan you can go on to where you just give them like a certain amount, like 2% without any contribution. Because right now things are tight, people don't have the money to contribute. So it seems better than trying to match, because some can't afford to contribute right now. So we're just going to start building it for them because it's the right thing to do. And they appreciate that. You know, they get that you're trying to help them with their future. So that's a good point.
Yeah, very good. Roger, talk a little bit about the early days and where you've grown into on the HR side. How do you find your employees? How do you retain them, motivate them? What sort of benefits do you offer?
It all started with the sign maker that I hired right out of the box. He's still with me 10 years later. And the reason he is because, you know, we create a family atmosphere, so to speak. We have recognition programs. We have Outstanding Employee of the Quarter program, Outstanding Employee of the Year program. You know, we get together and we have some fun. We had some recent deadlines that were very tough. It's hot in Texas, and so what we did last Friday was we came in, we worked till noon, and then we took off to air-conditioned bowling alley and drank beer and went bowling for the afternoon. And it's amazing little things that company culture makes a difference. That's how we've been able to, you know, you still have some turnover, but that's a healthy thing in many cases. What we do have is the ability to attract via, you know, health insurance and 401k and all the rest that we can get good people, and we tend to keep them by just making it a nice place to work. A lot of fun.
And Roger, just an add-on for you, having the number of employees that you have, do you utilize an HR service to help manage all of the paperwork side of it, or are you still doing that internally?
No, that goes by the wayside. You get north of 6 to 8 people, and it's like, okay. So I use a PEO, professional employer organization. It's they come in various shapes and forms and prices and so forth, and it's a new way to manage your people.
Yeah, very good, very good. Margie, share a little bit about what you do on the HR side, hiring, retaining, motivating, and maybe some of the benefits that you offer to keep your team in place.
Sure. I mean, we're similar, as you know, we believe that creating a company culture that people like to be in is really important. We do a Tuesday lunch every week, and that time there's absolutely no conversation about a specific job or a customer. We only talk about process and personal and professional improvement. We've bought everybody on our team an ISA membership so that they can improve their skills with online learning. And everyone's really kind of embraced that opportunity, and they come to that meeting with, if I call it, a book report, and tell everyone what they've learned. And some people want to delve further into it and learn more. So that's been super fun. We use a health benefit called Coursera, which is qualified small employer HRA. And if you're under 50 employees, you can offer that, and you can just give a contribution to that, and then your employees pick their plan and pay the difference. So that's been an affordable way for us to offer health insurance to our team. We also do end of year bonuses. We want people to benefit on the same profits, different levels than we do, but feel like they're being rewarded for that. And one of the fun things that we've done is we've brought in on-site car detailing. So we've detailed everyone's cars, and they love it. So it's been a big motivator, not bowling and beer, but I think that's on the list now.
Everyone likes a car wash.
Yeah.
That's great. Now what you need to add, Margie, is the on-site barber and hairstylist, and you can get some cut, get the cut and the car wash at the same time.
Oh, nice. Pet wash. How about that? Everyone brings
That's
their animal
perfect.
and get a dog wash.
And then you can wrap the trailers while they're there too. So you just wrap it all up. Very good. Very good. Jack, any insight on hiring, retaining, motivating employees with your experience?
Couple things quick. Realize that this is a career, not a job. And so you don't have anywhere near the turnover of staff that you do in many of the franchises that require large staff of people in the job. And by the time you've run it for 10 years, you've gone through a couple hundred people. The other thing is on the HR side, this isn't a benefits heavy industry. Most sign makers are coming to you from an independent sign company, didn't have benefits. So you don't have to have a benefit package to begin with, but then over time add it for retention so they never want to leave. Make life better for them than any place they've ever been.
Very good. Thanks for those additions there. Phil, hopefully that answered your question. And with that, let's go to Jeff Carson. Jeff, go ahead and take yourself off of mute and throw a question at our panel.
Hey, thanks so much. I guess one question I have just for everybody, what is your average, ticket price or average, transaction price? And what, I'm just curious kind of what drives that. Is it, do you have product specialization, you make a certain type of sign for, large clients, product mix or revenue mix? Do you have more installation, just stuff, whatever is impacting that?
Yeah, perfect. Let's go to Margie to kick us off. Margie, what's your average invoice size or ticket size, and how are you driving that?
So I wanted to pull up Corebridge and do a quick math calc, but it's probably the average order size $3,000. But I mean, we have projects that are a normal project for us could probably be 30 to 50. And then, there's all these little ones that kind of come in there. We do have a threshold though, where, we don't take anything under $500. And at this point in our journey, we are telling people when they call in, if they have a one and done type project, that they're probably not a good fit for us. And we refer them to a smaller Signworld in our area. So that's kind of a nice thing for us that we get to do now, but I hope that helps.
And a lot of how you drive that order size, Margie, is that it's done by your marketing. You're doing that more through internet marketing. You're doing it more through networking and relationship building to guide that type of business.
Well, my business has almost always been a third. So a third of it coming from the website, a third of it from repeat business, and a third of it from networking and referrals.
Very good. Very good. Roger, how about you? What's your average order size, and how are you driving that?
Somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. What we've tried to do over the years is curate our customer base, in that I don't do a lot. I don't do much anything under $1,000. I do a lot of illuminated signs, which automatically puts you in a $5,000 to $15,000 kind of category. And the other thing is we do a little service work that kind of helps out, but that's pretty much where it shakes out for us.
Yeah, very good. Kelly, for you, what's an average order size? How are you pushing it?
No, it's great going third. $47.97 is our average order size. So I can pull it out of Corebridge. And it is kind of deliberate. We kind of look for that, and we don't deviate a lot. I mean, we don't have great big orders like Margie and Roger were saying. We ours aren't huge, but they're all centralized around that. So we do push the channels and the EMCs into the monuments because we know that we're good at that now, and we can turn those around pretty fast. We should probably maybe consider what Margie's doing and go a little bit higher, and maybe Roger on our minimum order size, but we keep that door open at like 250 still. And typically what we do with that in terms of like how we drive that is my niece just joined us from UW-Madison, as a matter of fact, go Badgers. And we leave that door open for them to take some of those smaller orders because they can learn a lot in Corebridge processing orders, learning how to fab it, learning how to install, and it's not a big catastrophe. If it goes south, you just re-rip it and put it back on. So we kind of still chase those a little bit, but once we get to a certain point and we don't have any new people, then we do kind of, yeah, that's probably not for us, kind of, and we pass it on to others as well. So, but $47.97.
Mhm.
That's great. It's good. That's a good average ticket. Jack, share a little bit about the early years and some of that growth and average order size.
Well, you start off with, a $50 minimum order, but then you expand on that, hopefully eliminate some of those real small ones. But you're trying to grow your average order size, which shows you what to pay attention to, shows where your sweet spot of the business is. On the other side of it, some very, very large projects. We got a Signworld owner right now working on a $2 million project. So that skews the numbers. So when you're trying to figure out average order size, you almost have to take out some of the anomalies on the big end and the small end just to figure out what is my normal number.
Very good. Jeff, hopefully that helped you understand that side a little bit, but there's a wide range. A lot of it just depends on the type of work that you're bringing in. The goal is to really hit more of the higher end commercial types of signs. That's going to drive a higher ticket price for you.
Yep, super helpful. Thank you.
Very good. Well, let's go to Selena. Selena, go ahead and take yourself off of mute and throw a question in our panel here.
Right. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine.
I heard Margie, and I think Roger touched on it just a tad, but with reference to internet marketing, website, and repeat businesses, but what advertising, marketing, and PR was needed to launch? And I guess which first and why?
Yeah, very good. Let's kick off with Roger. Roger, if you can remember way back when you kicked the business off, how'd you market the business? How'd you attract customers?
My first year or so, it was primarily working with chambers of commerce and various leads groups around town. I would say the first 60% of my business in the first year or so was derived that way. And then I talked to a Signworld owner down in Austin, Texas, and Kevin Hull said, Roger, just give Google the money. And so I started a pay-per-click campaign, and then didn't think through it. It didn't overthink it a lot. I said, just give Google the money. Okay, so fine. And we did that, and it really boosted that. And then there's another thing that Kevin told me, and it really does come true, that somewhere around year 3 to 5, and there is a kind of a whoosh of an afterburner, and that is the repeat and referral business. So behind me, you see my place in an industrial park, and a lot of you are going to locate in industrial parks, and you'll find that. And typically, what the guy in the industrial park, he doesn't normally have a sign company in his industrial park, but he does have neighbors. And the neighbors have signs, and they go out and he says, hey, that's a nice sign. Where'd you get that? So you get this kind of repeat and referral thing of just being out there. Once you get enough product into the marketplace, it has a life of its own. And I would say that repeat and referral for me now is somewhere around 60 to 70%. So do I have digital? Yeah. Do I rely on it? No, I don't have to.
Very good. Kelly, how about for you? When you kicked the business off, how'd you start marketing and promoting your business, and how has that evolved over the last couple of years?
So when I started, I used a Signworld partner who basically kind of gave you, you'd sit down, do a website with them. They would set up all of your SEO, the organic stuff, the Google words and mapping, and make sure that you're out there and relevant. And that worked out great for me. I think it was $2,500 a month. And for me, that was more than we can handle. The phone rang enough that we didn't need anything else. And we were even like trying to keep up. So it wasn't an issue at all. There's a ton of business, so it comes. But since then you try to figure out the kind of business you want, right? Because everything you're generalist, it's all just coming in and you're just trying to react to it, figuring out what you want to do. And then maybe you start getting a little bit more of a focus, trying to go after, going into areas, trying to get referrals and, knocking on the door on the left, door on the right kind of business of the things that you want. And that did make a difference. And we're probably now, we're probably about 50% of repeat or referral business that comes in. And initially it was, I think of the business that, you're going to get, Timmy's 5-year-old soccer banner, but the business that we wanted, it all came through the web, all of it, 100%, I would say.
Very good. Margie, how about for you? How'd you kick off the business with advertising and marketing promotions? And then how has that evolved over the last couple of years?
Sure. Yeah. So we started with the website, and it was great. again, probably 30% of our business. Then we did the same thing Roger did, in-person networking and marketing meetings with other trade organizations. They only let one sign company in per those meetings. So, you know, you're not in there with your competition, and you just start building your business that way. In the beginning, Jack gives you a whole top 100 things to do. And I took some of those like really seriously. I built a group of people who focused on businesses that were moving. And that's actually grown into this really cool business of ours that is experiential graphics. So that's where the $30,000 to $50,000 projects come in, as we rebrand businesses as they move into new offices. And that's a really neat thing. We have 17 people on that team that work for a different company that sell furniture. And if they give a referral to us and we get the project, we give them a small commission back. So it's pretty fun part of our business, and it's really neat because you get to build and design different things. And then the other thing that we do that's a little bit different, no one mentioned yet, is social media. It's really hard to tell what the ROI is on that, but what it gave, at least in my market, was a perception that we were a lot larger business than we actually were. So the fake it till you make it is kind of the real thing that happened here. So people were like shocked that when my personal friends were, you're not $1 million business, when, you know, we were like in year 2. So it just really is kind of surprising what a little bit of social media can do for your business.
Very good. Thanks, Margie. Jack, anything to add there on kicking the business off with advertising and promotion to get things started?
Real quick, Sheree, if you want to go ahead and start those slideshows in the background, we'll keep talking while those go through. You know, while the website is live before you open, it's still at the bottom of the ranks from Google, so you can't rely on it to give you the majority of the business year 1. Well, by the end of year 1, it should be giving the majority. In the first year, there is a little bit of feet on the ground, the Chamber of Commerce, the networking group, the Rotary Club, things like that, some of the other activities that Margie was talking about. But by the end of year 1 into year 2, most Signworld don't have time to do the networking. That the internet is driving it now. You're starting to get repeats and referrals from others. So the business becomes pretty self-driving after it gets going.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. Selena, hopefully that helped address that for you as you think about kicking off a Signworld location. And with that, let's go to Brad Nelson. Brad, throw a question at our panel.
Yeah, I just trying to get off mute. Yeah, I got a few, but one I've been wondering, I think I pulled it out of the dialogue. You guys have all hired a designer, right? You're fully integrated. How did you find a good designer? And the tough one I've got, tell me about some of the businesses that failed and why they failed. And I got another one. I'll wait for it though, see if I have time. Sure.
Yeah, the first one I think we can kind of wrap up quickly, and then we'll talk about failure or reasons for failure there. What I can tell you is, for most Signworld locations, you do not start off with a designer. You start off with a general sign maker who has some design capability. So that way you can focus more on the production of the product as opposed to just the design and layout of the project. Some of those design services can be outsourced and then brought in to then allow your fabricator. So let's kind of take it from the perspective of, when did you bring in a designer to be a part of your team to handle full-scale design, and when did you do that? So Margie, do you have a full-time designer on your team now? And if so, when did you bring them in?
So we do have someone who does full-time design, but they're also doing pre-press and pre-production work. That's really kind of their specialty. I would say our business is extremely design driven, and we look at every single project with kind of a critical eye and decide what would be the best designer for that project. So some people are awesome at exterior signage. Some people do great experiential design. Some people can design tattoos. So we just try to pick who would best present our ideas, and that's who we hire. We keep all those people on like just an ad hoc type 1099. And then there is myriad of design services that are available, which we did use at one time. So the options are endless for design. I mean, everybody that
Yes.
knows somebody who's a graphic designer.
Yeah, it seems like that would be a really critical part of the business.
Yeah. Kelly, for you, when do you have a designer on your team full time now? And if so, when did you bring them in?
No, as it was kind of mentioned before, your first hire is when you really, really spend a lot of time, looking for the right person, right fit, right skill set. And the person who is still with me today as well, she has graphics design background and is the production manager. So we kind of use her to do a lot. But as we grew and we brought on an intern from a graphics design program at a junior college to work with us for a while. But since then, we've kind of rolled over and we are using this. It's a very good value to get proofs and production drawings from the companies that are provided in the preferred list of suppliers. I mean, we've used both of them and have no issues. We've got a return on our investment every single time on those. Very, very cost effective. And a lot of the stuff that we do from a graphics design perspective, and I don't know, maybe it's just the markets we're chasing. A lot of it is more layout and scaling than it is high-end design. We brought in the graphics designer from a college, and we really, wasn't a good fit. And we both agreed, because we weren't doing that artsy stuff. That's just not where we were going and not what we were seeing in terms of requests. So ours was more blocking and tackling and scaling things to walls and sign bands and things like that. So, we're pretty good with the services that we have available to us right now.
Sure. Roger, how about for you? Do you have a full-time designer on staff now? And if so, when in the game did you bring them in?
The full-time designer came in probably 4 or 5 years ago, but to second Kelly's point, my original sign maker guy was very good at it as well. And what we're doing is we're taking someone's logo for the most part and creating something around it. So it is a lot of layout. Is there creative design? Yeah, there is some. But you still have to work with someone's logo and mold that into a branding campaign. And you're governed by the rules that surround this particular person, this particular business's logo. It's got to look this way, it's got to be that, so on and so forth. So it's a nuts and bolts kind of art requirement.
Yeah, very good. Now let's go to the second part of it, which is, do you know anybody who's failed within Signworld, and perhaps what are some of the reasons that you think they might have failed in business? Roger, you've been around the longest within the organization. Do you know anybody that's failed, and what are some of those reasons for failure?
We had someone out west of town in Palo Pinto, and he for whatever reason he came in as was a salesman. Usually those folks tend to do okay, but I don't think he was able to define his targets all that well. Was it something that he, for whatever reason, it just didn't work out for him? Most people can adapt, and it's kind of rare that people don't make it. Some people, get in on a shoestring and the shoestring breaks, and there's that as well. So, at any rate, you don't see it often, but I have seen it a couple times.
Margie, how about for you? You've been around now for a bit. Any owners that you know that have failed, and what were some of the reasons maybe that led to that failure?
I would say, if you worked hard in your corporate life and you take on your own business, you're not going to change who you are or what your work ethic is. So your chances of survival and success are ahead of the game. If that corporate life was not really all that challenging, and you didn't like to work and you didn't like to put in the amount of time, it's probably going to be pretty hard to be your own employer, and you have to have the discipline to do it. Those seem to be the people who I've known who've had issues. And then also not everybody wants to like have $1 million business. Some people want to have a self-employment type opportunity, and those just aren't as big. And sometimes, you know, you can get behind on cash flow, which is extremely important. And it's part of the curriculum now that Signworld offers. And I think that that's a huge benefit for success too, is just understanding how to run the business and the numbers and how to stay ahead of that.
Yeah, thank you, Margie. Jack, anything to add on owners that have failed and reasons for failure?
No, we've tracked this over 36 years, and we believe we have an 86.2% success rate, a 13% failure rate, which tells you a couple things. Success rate is pretty high because the system works pretty well. It's a big market out there. It tells you we're not perfect. There's people we brought in that we thought would be good, and they weren't. I can talk in just a second about that, but it's not a wide open door. There's people we turn away and say, please go someplace else. You know, why they failed is a combination of different things. Some hire carelessly and have a turnover help and can't grow. Some really struggle on delegating and letting the staff take on reins of things. Some don't manage their schedule right, show up for the appointment or deliver the project on time, and it's hard to get repeats. Some don't manage their finances. But really, number one reason, they're not coachable. The ego's so big, they're not willing to come back and say, I need some help. Our worst phone call is when somebody called and said, I should have called you a couple of months ago, but I thought I could figure it out. Now I've waited too long. So stay connected.
Very good. And thank you for that, Brad. Hopefully that helped address a couple of the questions there that you had, and perhaps we'll have some time to circle back for another, but let's go to Bob HF. Bob, if you could take yourself off mute and throw a question out to our panelists.
Yeah, thanks, guys. All these questions and answers are very good. Answered a lot of the things that I'm looking to do. One of the questions is, and it will be slightly different for everybody, but when did you start breaking even? How long did it take you to really get in the black and start making money?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Always an important question, understanding profitability and being able to cover the expenses of the business so it's no longer bleeding. Let's start off with our newest owner on the panel, Kelly. Kelly, go ahead and talk a little bit about your cash flow break-even point. When did you hit that? Where the revenue coming in was covering the monthly expenses? And then if you could add an additional layer to that, when did you start paying yourself from the business? When did you start taking some of that money out of the company?
Very good. Yep. So I know exactly what it was. It was in month 5 where we broke even based upon our expenses, our people, and our revenue and the margins that we had on it. And I started taking a salary in the 6th month because I wanted to, that's just kind of my personal preference. So I didn't replace my whole salary, but took a salary that I could start living on in month 6 without any problems. And it was never felt undercapitalized. I never really had to go any further than what was suggested initially to fund the business and get the projects off the ground. So month 5 is when we broke even. Month 6, I started taking money.
And Kelly, I just want to throw one more thing in there. At the end of the day, as a business owner, you don't want to maximize your income from the company. There's lots of taxation in that. But how long, and so maybe you're not taking as much out as you made in the corporate world in the form of income, right. But at what stage did you feel like you had a similar return to what you had in the corporate world, that life didn't feel like you were squeezing it?
In year 2, for sure. I would have replaced what I was making in corporate. To your point, I didn't take it out. I left it in the business. But it's clearly the equity of the owner was clearly that, and now it's well exceeded that. So you're right. It's all about what you want to do with the business, how you want to grow it and invest in it, in the taxation of it. But definitely before 2 years were up, I had replaced my income in corporate.
Very good. Thanks for that, Kelly. Margie, how about for you? When did you hit that cash flow break-even point on a monthly basis? At what point did you start to take some money out for yourself? And lastly, when did you start to feel comfortable that the money you brought out was sort of replacing, or at least taking care of home?
Yeah. So gosh, I wish I could answer that question. I don't really know by month when it started to to turn over like that. But I can tell you, in year 3, I had made back my full investment of all the money I ever put into this business. We were completely in the black. We weren't able to take any more tax deductions for not making money. So those year 3 is when we became completely 100% out of the hole. And just to note, year 2 and 3 was COVID for us. So we were doing really, really well. And then pretty much all my corporate accounts said, you know, hey, just don't come back or don't come in. You know, we don't want anybody in our spaces. So it took a little bit of time for us, but also year 3, my husband joined the company. You know, we're 100% supported by this venture together, and it's really rewarding. I guess that's it.
Yeah, very good, very good. Roger, how about for you? When did you hit cash flow break even? When did you start to pay yourself, and when did you start to feel comfortable with what you're making out of the company, that it was taking care of home?
Yeah, cash flow break even probably by the end of the first year, and started to take some money out in year 2. And towards the end of year 2, felt pretty solid about the being able to pay myself what I had earned before.
Very good. Jack, any insight or anything you want to add?
Our average to cash positive is 6 months. The people that have customer interface tend to do a little faster. The true engineer takes a little bit longer. Modest income year 1, better year 2. Most are back to corporate numbers, 18 to 24 months. So we always recommend, as you should with any of the other business models you might be considering as an alternative to this. In addition, the investment set aside about 1 year's worth of living expense. Using some to supplement year 1, some to supplement year 2, and by that time, hopefully you're back to normal life.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. All right, let's go to WP Rowe. If you could take yourself off of mute and throw a question out to our panel.
Sure. Thanks, everybody. My first question today is around enterprise value. So this might be more relevant for some of you with longer standing businesses, but either way, I'd love to learn more about how you've been able to kind of succession plan or work yourself out of your many jobs over time to ultimately create kind of real enterprise value in the businesses that you've built, which you may choose to sell someday or you may not. But ultimately, it needs to kind of stand alone without you to be transferable more easily. And so I'm just wondering if anybody's gone down that path and what your journey's been like in this industry. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. I think what Jack will share with you is exit strategy planning is one of the first things that we cover in new owner training. So let's kick it off with Roger. Roger's been around a little bit longer, probably a little bit closer to that, and has been thinking about some of that succession planning.
Right.
Roger, share some of your insights there.
You know, I've cultivated some people around me. My vice president of operations has been with me since day 1, and obviously will be a part of, and has been, we've been talking about it all along. And in the sense that, well, after I'm gone, you all will blah, blah, blah. And so people are understanding that, yes, there's that intent in place. So that, I give a lot of responsibility to my VP of operations. I give a lot of responsibility to my my VP of sales. And it's funny, people will ask me questions about the details of how we do things. And it's like, I don't know, ask Brandon or ask Peyton. I haven't done that in 8-9 years. I have a clue how that happens, but all I know is that along the way, all these people around me have absorbed the responsibilities, and I've let it go. And I know that when it's time, then that there'll be an interest on their part. We'll be able to figure out what that model looks like and execute it. So.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. Margie, go ahead. Have you thought about succession planning, and how have you started to establish that idea within your company to start offloading some of those tasks that maybe you take care of that allow for that?
Sure. I mean, everyday occurrence here is the exit strategy. So, I say it out loud, 10 years we're out. And, the way that we can do that is to show that, we've had a profitable business, and we are to a buyer, we're going to be very attractive. So we have relationships actually with business brokers right now that are courting us. We're just not ready, because we're going to get a lot bigger and get a lot more money at the end. But the way that we're doing that is with growth and scale, by documenting processes, by having a system for everything, so that it's repeatable. If somebody leaves, somebody else can step into that and look at our systems and processes and know that what we do and how we do it, so that there's just no actual dependency on us. And what's happening though is we're growing so fast, we're adding new businesses that we're still kind of sucked into some of that more than we want to. But when we get more space, more people, we'll be able to delegate more. But it's growth and scale and process is really going to be our ticket to retirement.
And just so I'm clear, Margie, on how much time we have, when did you start saying to yourself 10 years? Was it on day one, or was it like recently that we still have maybe have some time in front of us?
I would say I'm 10 years out, 9 years out.
Perfect.
Yeah. Unless
Good,
something
good.
incredible happens, right? Like, I don't know, something incredible.
Absolutely.
There's
Absolutely.
always a price for something, right?
That's right. Well, Kelly, I know you're only a couple years in, but have you had thought about succession planning and any of that? Talk a little bit about where you're at.
Yeah, but not to a great extent. No, I do, when we do hire though, we do talk about and think about those people, and do we see them in positions of, running the business, whether we sell it or whether we just become a silent partner, let the business continue on, or however we want to move forward. But I do look at some things, the metrics you can look at. I mean, you're not going to sell a business when you're responsible for 90% of the estimates and 90% of the sales, and then you go away, right? That part doesn't look very sustainable. So we look at those metrics, and year over year, you should, as your numbers grow, you should have a lesser percentage in those numbers of actual in the orders and in creating the orders and fulfilling them, and where your fingerprints are all over them. You need to just see that being less and less over time. And that's kind of where we go. But we do have people, we train them. Everyone runs the meetings. Everyone runs our stand-ups. You rotate through it, and this is your week to do it and your week to do it. And people understand and see if they want to do it, see if they're good, and you can kind of get a good feel for that. But ultimately, though, it's like creating that time, to your point about this, call it sacred time or whatever you have, to work on the business and not in it. You have to force that time on your calendar. You got to think about how you're going to go forward, what your strategy is, what your tactics are to get there. And if you don't create that time, you will be consumed in the business very fast. So I tried to do that.
Absolutely. And Jack, any final thoughts on exit strategy, succession planning?
As Dan mentioned, it's our very first topic in new owner training once we introduce each other to each other on the first morning of training. And then thinking about it as we run the business. And I would challenge you, most of the other concepts you're looking at don't even talk about exit strategy planning. How you exit could be passing it off to children. We've had 3 Signworld owners have their sons in training in the last 3 months as they're starting to work into the business to take over for their parents. And we've had a number of operations where they've sold it to their general manager or the production manager. Other cases where they're selling it to somebody, to another sign company, merging into their operation, absorbing them. We've had a number of where we found a buyer for them and help them sell the business off to a new Signworld owner. So it's an important thing to think about from the day one and to continue to work on it through the course of business. And as Kelly mentioned, the less you're involved in all the day-to-day transactions, the more important or more valuable the business is.
Thank you, Jack. And WP, I see your hand raised, but we've got one more guest and we've only got a few more minutes here before we break for the hour. So if we've got time, I'll come right back to you. But Stanley, go ahead and take yourself off of mute and throw a question out at our panel.
Hi, everyone. It's on. Just a quick shout out. Margie here has already spent an hour with me earlier this week, and it's good to see her again because she was so valuable. So thank you. That's what's great about this Sign World community, I think. My question, I'm also a quote unquote corporate refugee and scared shitless, excuse my language, of going into this world of getting a paycheck and now having to start your own thing, but it's exciting. So for all you owners out there, what was the most challenging scenario memory thing you faced in launching your business, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, very good. No doubt, starting a business is a scary thing, and there's a lot of risk and challenge in that. So, Kelly, why don't you kick us off with this one? Having experienced that most recently, what was the biggest challenge you faced in starting off that business, and how'd you overcome it?
Yeah, I guess one of the things I didn't really see coming out of corporate, and I had many people that we worked with over the course of the years is, you have the Signworld family, but when you come in here, you come into your place in your shop, you don't have that collaborative group of people to bounce things off of. And that I'm a collaborator. I like working with people, and I have myself and my sign maker. Okay, that's two opinions, 2 points of view. How do we come to consensus? So the way I kind of worked that personally is I used my mastermind group a lot, and I really leaned into that, because sometimes it's just even the virtual drinking buddy, you don't have them because you got all your buddies here typically where you are, and you don't have those types of people, those kinds of conversations and relationships. So you just got to create them virtually and across the country, and it worked well for us. And we still rely on each other, and we're still very close to this day.
Very good. Margie, how about for you? What was the biggest challenge you faced in getting the business kicked off and starting things, and how'd you overcome it?
Yeah, I think my biggest challenge in the beginning is still my biggest challenge today. It's imposter syndrome. I find myself, when someone's going to give us a, $120,000 job, it's like, do they really know what they're doing? Do they really understand? They're putting their entire project in my hands. So I just sometimes don't feel like I have enough confidence that I've really built this $1 million business. And so that's really my biggest challenge, is just being, not standing up and being like, yeah, I got this.
Well, you've done a great job of that, Margie. You gotta believe and have that confidence. So great job on what you built. But awesome answer there. Roger, how about for you? What was the biggest challenge you faced in getting the business kicked off? How'd you overcome it?
I think that the biggest challenge was pulling together that first guy, and knowing that he could cover off all of the. I didn't have to learn anything technical because I'd been in apparel sales all my life. And so I understood the process of courting an order, of courting a customer, and so on and so forth. So he left that to me, and I left everything else to him. So if I could get him in the door and convince him that my organization could get this done, Brandon could take it from there and just wow him with the concept and the fact that we were going to create something custom for this gentleman, so on and so forth. So it was that kind of thing. And once you overcome the fact that you don't have to know everything about everything, and you relax and you just do what it is that you do.
Yeah, very good, Roger. And Jack, you deal a lot with new owners and training and sales and marketing. Add a little insight there and some of those challenges that they face and perhaps how they're overcoming them.
Before that, Roger, what's your phrase that you use when Son Lee talks about being afraid?
Oh, geez.
You got to become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and you should work at that. Because yeah, that's one of the things it takes for this, because you're going to be in a lot of situations where all of a sudden, yeah, it's like Margie. I'm in front of a 1 million square foot building the other day, and I'm looking at this and that and all this kind of stuff. And fortunately, the first one of those that I did, I was uncomfortable. I don't know what you got to do here, but now I've done one. Right now, I'm an expert. you know? So it's like, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Put yourself in those situations, and you'll be in fewer and fewer situations going forward where you're uncomfortable. And that gives you the confidence. The customer sees, hears, feels the confidence, and he goes, I'm in good hands, and you get the job.
Everybody joining Signworld in the 36 years we've been in business, none of them had sign experience. We're not looking for that. We're looking for your interpersonal skills. We're looking for the multitasking, the delegating, the commitment to succeeding. And that's why you're joining an organization where you get the peer support of others, so that the salesperson can help the finance person, can help the marketing person, can help the logistics person. We built this alliance where we're all helping each other. So are there challenges? Absolutely. But it's a lot more secure once you get it going than it is any job, because now you're the boss, now you're in charge. You get to pick the culture, get to pick the customers, get to pick the projects, get to pick your work schedule.
Very good. Thank you, Jack, for adding those comments there. I know we have pushed past the hour here, and we want to be mindful of our panelists' time and get them back to their busy days. As we prepare to close, first and foremost, I want to thank Kelly and Margie and Roger for joining in and sharing some insights on your business and helping address some of these questions that our prospective owners have. As we close today, if you do need to jump for another meeting or another call, feel free to do so. But again, thank you for joining us today. For our guests that joined in today, just a couple dates to be mindful of future events that we have coming along. If you'd like to participate in another one of these webinar sessions, we do have one coming up on Wednesday, September 11th. It'll be again at 2 o'clock Eastern time, 11 o'clock Pacific time, where you have the ability to ask questions to another panel of owners. If you'd like to come and see us live, you maybe saw that slide that Sheree shared of the Signworld bus. We do host a Discovery Day once a month, where you have the ability to spend the entire day with our team, tour some Signworld facilities, interview lots of owners, meet lots of people, and really dig in deep to the overall business model. Our next Discovery Day will happen live in our corporate offices on Friday, September 13th. If you're interested in attending that, please reach out to whoever you're working with at Signworld, whether it's myself, it's Jack Warner, it's Jeannie Borum, or it's Dick Cassidy. We can share more information with you on that next event. If traveling and coming to see us live is not something that you're able to do, we'll also have a virtual event coming up in October where we will share more details on that. But for today, we want to thank you for joining in and bringing your questions to the table to have the panel address. Hopefully it shared some new information with you and gave you some insight to some of the things that you're thinking about around the business model. As you continue through this process, please reach back to whoever you're working with. We'll coordinate another meeting or call and work through more as you continue through your discovery journey. So again, thank you for joining us. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and we'll talk to you all soon.